Do you want the Gina seat? See. Good? Okay. All right. Good morning. Good morning. You made it through the snow. Some of us almost made it through the snow. Some of us almost didn't. But we are here for our third Bach experience of the year. Hi, everybody. Live streaming, if you're on this morning, welcome to our third installment of our Reader's Digest version of Bach's second chorale cantata cycle. So just to remind you, we're in the second year in Bach's time in Leipzig, and he is grouping all of his Sunday morning compositions, the cantatas, on a chorale tune, using the chorales as the uniting theme. This is something to ponder on more broadly, because if you think of Martin Luther and the timing of the Reformation in the beginning of the 16th century, this is the beginning of the 18th century. The tune that we'll celebrate today would have been its 200th birthday exactly. So the publishing of Gelobet seist du by Martin Luther was 1524. This chorale cantata of Bach is Christmas 1724. We just passed Christmas 2024. So you can see the evolution and the progress of the thought of theology through those 500 years, through a Lutheran theology, and the reception of the tune. And you'll hear this morning in the opening movement that the chorale tune Bach sets as he normally does. There's nothing unremarkable, nothing remarkable about that first movement if you know that it's in the context of the second cycle. The chorale tune is in the long notes, and the soprano part is very clear. And I said to the choir in the rehearsal a few moments ago, everybody in listening that morning would have sung along with the chorale tune as soon as they started the soprano singing. Whether or not they were invited, they would have known that this is what the chorale was. And indeed, the first movement has sort of, as I said, a big birthday cake kind of a feel about it. It's very festive. Before we do the first movement, though, I'd like to start at the end of the piece and do the final chorale, because in the final chorale, this is in some ways, as you would expect, the conclusive and sort of the gathering text. But here is where Martin Luther sets up his Christmas tune, Gelobet seist du, Jesu Christ, with this final verse. It was all from the Father's love. The Father has done all of this for us that we might achieve salvation. So this is a Christmas chorale, but it ends with this summation kind of text, with God has done all of these things, loving Father has done all of these things for us. So the verses that precede start with the birth, the Jungfrau, the Virgin Mary, and go through Christmas Day motives, but the bigger picture is from the Father's love. Okay, so we haven't rehearsed this morning, so you rehearse with us this final chorale, Das hat alles uns getan. We should stand. And for folks listening by live stream, you'll notice this probably better than those gathered here. We're going to try something new with our cantata series this morning. Players who can stand, cellist, bassoon won't, and double bass won't, but everybody else is going to stand when they play. And there are a lot of good things about this. It's sort of performance practice from a general way, but it also helps us hear across and see across and connect. And it's just better all around. So let's do this first without the horns and the timpani. So all the way through, Das hat alles uns getan. So this chorale is known as a Eleisalied. That's because it ends with Kyrie eleis, or Kyrie eleison, with the Greek words, Lord have mercy. Each verse of Luther's chorale ends with Kyrie eleison, the opening movements from the Mass Ordinary. Let all Christendom rejoice and thank him for this eternally, Lord have mercy. So the chorale puts us in a place of supplication and thanksgiving, but in receipt of God's mercy. Not so much the petition of how feeble are we, but we are in the constant state of receiving mercy from God. In the second phrase, we will sing out more groß Lieb, sein groß Lieb, which is his great love. Now, Bach dresses this chorale up. We just did it with standard strings, wind doubling, a four-part chorale setting. Nothing surprising about that. But Bach dresses this up for a good birthday, a 200th birthday, and Christmas, with festive orchestration, that is to say, timpani and horns. And as he does so, the whole chorale broadens. So when you get to each of the fermatas, that's where we'll listen for sound to dissipate. So it'll be longer now. And especially we'll listen in the last bar and a half. Okay. Now with the fancy parts. That's so good. All right, have a seat. And let me check in with the horns to see if that's how this festival orchestration should go. Liz, what do you think? Is that all right? Time at the fermata's okay? And then, what's that? Okay, the last bar and a half. Is that enough time for that? That works, right? Everybody listen in measure 5, choir especially too. Measure 5, second horn, has 8 notes. It's just stabilizing. I think that's good. Can we make the connection from the duet? Just stay where you are, sing seated, and the play out is in E minor choir, so it's easy enough, and you'll come stand in position during the play out. First chord is, sing it. Yeah, there the tenor's finally, yeah, that's it. Same again. That's just fine. Das hat alles uns getan, and uns is us. The Father has done all of these things for us, uns getan. Sein groß Lieb. Okay, now let's go to the first movement. Choir, take your time, you don't have to come quick. But I want to outline, at least for the listener, what Bach does for the birthday garment of Gelobet seist du. The orchestra, as you know now, is festival orchestration for Christmas, and there's something about Bach and Christmas. Bach does Christmas better than anybody. And I remember writing a liner note for a Handel and Haydn Christmas disc a couple of years ago. And the disc it was a real grab bag of Christmas a cappella anthems. But what I learned in writing this liner note is that a broad swath of Christendom did not celebrate Christmas as a big holiday. Especially the most Reformed traditions of the Puritans did not celebrate anything happy, that's for sure. So there's no Christmas and no Easter as official holidays. There's no official liturgical calendar to be acknowledged. There's no revised common lectionary. And it's not until the early 19th century in this country, in Boston, that Christmas becomes the thing to do. So that the Handel and Haydn Society, for example, their first concert ever is on Christmas Day, 1815. Can you imagine launching your organization, having your very first concert on Christmas Day? So what that tells us is that the 19th century and Victorian English-speaking worlds brought a tradition from Germany, really, with the Christmas markets. Who's been to a Christmas market? Everybody. The German tradition of celebrating Christmas and the trees and all of the symbolism comes across the English Channel with Victoria and Albert. And then, of course, into our country through Courier and Ives and other postcards. I was saying that Bach did something special with Christmas. There's no question about that. And as somebody who tries to program music of this period for Christmas, it's hard to find and hard to beat Bach's exuberance for this holiday. Why? There's certainly the German observance of Christmas markets and the importance of the holiday in German-speaking lands. Also, in Leipzig, the liturgical period right before Christmas Day was a Tempus Clausum, meaning quiet period. No concerted music was heard after Advent 1. So the other period like this, of course, is Lent. So you have this dry spell where you hear only, you hear naked chant singing with no cantatas, no big festival pieces. And then Christmas morning happens and you get marvelous music. And it was a workout for these guys because they played twice, each service they did twice in one of the two principal churches. So they would have played this cantata at 2 performances for the Christmas Day. Then there would be a Magnificat at Vespers, that one in either E flat or the D major, the one that we know. Then a newly composed Festival Sanctus, which we did some of those last year. That's Christmas Day. The first day of Christmas, the next day, is another new cantata, also done twice. Then there's the third day of Christmas, which is another cantata. And it's only after that that they get to sleep in the day. But it's just jam-packed with lots of church attendance and festival scoring for music. So the records of Leipzig Christmases, you can see which cantatas were charted on which day. And I just can't imagine hearing all of that for the first time and playing it for the first time or seeing it. When we get to the duet, I'll talk briefly about Bach's decision to change a rhythm 20 years after this piece was written. And the manuscript of the first performance, I don't know how he figured out what it said to make a change from. It was so hastily put together. But the time crunch is something we can't quite imagine. We can imagine different time crunches, I suppose. All right, so Bach has a special prescription for Christmas and a special spirit of the sound. And it's almost always in the 16th notes. So if you can conjure up the beginning of the Christmas oratorio, for example, Jauchzet frohlocket, Jonathan can conjure that up because he plays the first pitches of that. Boom, 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 boom. And then the flutes and the oboes. But a little up, little trills and things, and then a deluge of fast notes happens. It comes to the top violins and then streams down through the orchestra. And then throughout the entirety of that first movement, there's the 16th note that just joyfully gets you in the spirit. It's always in the 16th notes. Here, the same thing happens. We have oboes, down 1 this morning, down 1 to Frosty the Snowman. Oboes start with 16th notes, and if you could see the score, it almost shows it better in pictorial fashion. The 16th notes gather each one until all instruments of the orchestra are playing it. So the first note is the first thing to listen for is the 16th note ascending scale. That starts with Ben, and then goes through Elizabeth, and then third oboe, me, and then through all of the strings. As the 16th notes are passed around, you hear arpeggiation from the other parts of the orchestra once that gets going. And it's really those two motives that make up the first movement. Some kind of 16th notes, either ascending or that kind of thing, with arpeggios around it. Let's play the opening ritornello, please. So this is measures 1 through 13. Choir, don't come in just yet. Okay. It's just standard harmonies, 1-5, passing around back and forth, but the infectiousness of the 16th note grows all the way till everybody has it. And the other, it's the yin and the yang of this is as the 16th notes gather potential and energy, then the whole note, the note that doesn't go anywhere, holds but makes crescendo. So there's a sense of potential energy that Bach is able to generate with these two seemingly opposite rhythmic features. Then the choir comes in and the sopranos sing the tune. And that's great, and they'll do that for all of the lines of the chorale. The lower three voices are newly composed, and they don't really have anything to do with the chorale tune except for the third phrase, which we go to now. Von einer Jungfrau. Here, the tune is, and in keeping with that, the tenors come in immediately, von einer Jung, and then the altos, von einer Jung, and then basses finally, von einer Jung. So the motive is now finally integrated from the soprano part all the way down. So let's begin, how about directly on 17, please? 17, and we will stop. No, we will not start at 17. I'm sorry, 27, everybody, 27. And then horns and timpani don't come in at 38, please. Okay, here's 27. 1, 2, from that, von einer Jungfrau, das ist wahr. That's the truth. Das ist wahr, das ist wahr. Choir alone, von einer Jungfrau. It's kind of fun. Actually, it's surprising you start on A or G. Here we go, 1 and 2. Von einer Jungfrau, das ist wahr. Das ist wahr, das ist wahr. That's the truth, don't forget it. All right. And then I want you to hear what Bach does for the last two phrases. So we have Des freut sich der Engel Schar. Now the Engel Schar is the host of angels. So the heavenly choir is what happens here. And in the final aria of the cantata, the soprano and alto sing about how they are transformed by this gift of salvation so that they too, their voices become as the voices of the angel choir. So there's a symmetry between this text and the first verse that will appear later. Let's start, please. How about 43? And we'll go to the end. What I want you to listen for, the angel choir, that starts with the basses, they have 16th notes that bubble up from the bottom. And then the final phrase, Kyrie eleis. The chorale tune is just G naturals. Kyrie eleis. That's how the tune ends. But what happens underneath for Bach in this setting is really fun. He builds that crescendo again, but with the choir driving the train. Let's go, what measure did I say? 43? Is that right? 43 to the end. Happy birthday, Gelobet seist du. Great. All right. Let's go forward. Could you come down, Logan, and let's look at this recitative number 2. In a previous cantata this year, we have found this technique that Bach is going to use in the secco recitative, meaning a dry recitative, in which Rebecca and I, the organ and the cello, play the chords around what the singer has for the text. And like the previous cantata from this series, Bach incorporates the chorale tune, "Gelobet seist du, Jesu Christ," in the cello part. So the cello part is like is the good conscience, the voice of the conscience on the ear or in the ear of the Christian going through the day. So you encounter something, and then the voice behind of the cello says, remember the tune, Gelobet seist du. Oh yes, okay. So remembering your salvation, remembering grace has fallen freely for you. But what Bach does is not just an incipit from the cello of the chorale tune. He makes this chorale tune, he weaves it into the harmonic and contrapuntal fabric of the whole thing, repeating in different levels, different keys. All the while, Logan outlines the chorale tune in long notes. So let's just do it from, let's do first 12 bars maybe, something like that. Let's do that one more time so that the conductor and the organist can get the right measure in 4. One more time, sorry.
Das
So you see, I think, how Bach is weaving the chorale tune throughout. It makes it actually quite complicated to figure out what the chords are around it. And in both manuscripts, Bach has lots of little numbers on every eighth note that sometimes conflict and sometimes don't go necessarily together. But you'll hear that chorale tune obviously celebrated there. And the next movement, this is for a tenor solo. And Colin, we're only going to do just the beginning so that folks can hear what the rhythmic idea is, which is these dotted rhythms. Yum, ba-dum, 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 yum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So Colin sings an aria that is a paraphrased text of Martin Luther's third and fourth verses. And for the paraphrased text, Bach clads this tenor solo for tenor, continuo, and the obbligato instrument is 3 oboes. That's a rare thing. 3 oboes. It's not the only instance, but again, my right hand is third oboe today. So just imagine. And let's play through 13. How about? Is that all right, Colin? We'll do the first phrase. 13. 1, 2. All right, you hear the idea there, the three oboes with the dotted rhythms in a triple meter will set up, I think, a handsome pairing with the duet that comes next, which has dotted rhythms in the violins incessantly. There's not a figure in this entire movement, really, that doesn't have yum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum pervading throughout it. For time, I will go forward. Thank you very much, Colin. And let's do number 4, the recit with Devin. And then I have one thing to show you in number 5, and then we'll definitely be at time. In number 4, O Christian world, so be it. Prepare yourselves to receive your Maker. The mighty Son of God descends to you as guest. Let your heart be moved by this love. He comes to you and to your thoughts, to this veil of tears before his throne. Now, the veil of tears is a Jammertal. That's the German term, Jammertal. And that is the German sort of metaphor for our mortal coil. For this earthly life, the veil of tears. This earthly life leads to eternal life in the hereafter. And it is through the cross and through this gift from the Father of his Son that we are made whole and are redeemed. So that transformation happens for Bach in an ascending chromatic line. So this ascent comes to symbolize our transformation. You'll hear it, Devin sings it in a moment, and you'll hear it again in the duet. We won't play it now because of time, but listen for, in the duet at least, in the second section, that transformation. Here's all of number 4.
O Christenheit, wohlan, so mache dich bereit, bei dir den Schöpfer zu empfangen, der große Gottessohn, und dass ein Gast zu dir gegangen. Ach, lass dein Herz durch diese Liebe rühren, er kommt zu dir, dich vor seinen Thron durch dieses Jammertal zu führen.
We're transformed from all of the gnarled chromaticism of this yamata, this Veil of Tears, to a perfect C major chord at the end. We'll end with this. Let's do one more phrase. Let's give one more time upbeat to 6, Achlas.
Ach, lass dein Herz durch diese Liebe rieren. Kommt zu dir dich vor seinen Thron durch dieses Jahr.
Unbelievable conception in 4 bars what harmony can do to explain and to depict our redemption. Great. The next thing that happens is a duet. We won't do that now, but you'll hear it in the service. And the ritornello is played, the obbligato instrument is played by all of the violins playing in unison together. Like the click, like the tick of time. The inevitability of our state of grace. Thanks, guys. Have a chair. The contrast in the duet that Martin Luther sets up in his verses 4 and 5 and 6 of his hymn are that the Lord God takes on the form of poverty. He takes on a human form, the armut, the contrast of coming as a babe, a poor, helpless, can't do anything for himself. This child, this poor, helpless child, will find fulfillment in the cross and in our salvation. And that happens in the second half of the duet. You listen for it in the chromaticism. I think that's enough for Gelobet Zeistu. We better have breakfast, and we better learn some descants for the service in a few minutes. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you at 11 and at 11:25 or so. Thank you very much.